You're listening to radio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Hello, welcome back to the Integration Station, everyone. I'm naturally Ashley, your host. I got DP here from Psychonauts TV, and we also got Chris Aaron, who is also known as the Ape King. And wow, like we've been talking for a few days now, not to mention following you forever. Like everything that you're sharing is just so unique. You've been, at the forefront of the psychedelic mushroom movement. Pioneer in your field, doing mycology, teaching mycology and cultivation, and just all kinds of stuff. I'm really looking forward to sharing some of those stories, hearing and helping you share your story and journey of how you got here. So yeah, without further ado, I'll pass over to you.
Thanks guys for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I like the show quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I know one of the things that we were connecting on to, like mycology being as I don't know, upcoming as it is, like it started out so niche. You were just sharing a story about like back in the day, ordering your first spores from High Times. Like that was kind of how you did it. Now it's, you can get it from your next door neighbor sometimes, But, there's also this big component about psychedelics and mental health that you bring to the forefront too. So I wanted to see where it is that you want to start with sharing your journey and what got you here, what got you on the psychedelic path.
Sure. It's been a long path. I've been in this now. I started, I guess, almost 27 years ago was my first work with spores. And I was actually growing. I got taught by a friend of mine from the Okanagan here while I was in business school. So I was growing in business school, and I was experimenting a lot back then with mushrooms and other psychedelics, LSD. So that sort of introduced me to it. At that time, it was not, for medical use. It was mostly for recreational, but that sort of set the tone for my understanding of it, my comfort level with it, further adventure or investigation with it. When I started, we were actually, not really anybody knew anything about anything back then. We had a few people that were paving the way, and it was sort of a very underground network to be able to understand how to connect with those people. There was no internet, there was no sharing any of anybody's secrets back then. It was, shrouded in secrecy, and it had been for largely up until very recently, but nobody wanted to give the secret sauce away on how you grew, your techniques, where you got your stuff from. I was lucky. I sort of got taught by another friend of mine, shout out to Troy. And I started growing in these inverted Tupperware containers or bins. That was sort of the tech that we did originally. And I got to thank my my roommate in university, Kaya, man. He must have looked at me sometimes pretty cockeyed. I had these bins in shelves covered over. Nobody knew, in our house that these things were growing in there, but I was using little bubbler pucks from aquarium ponds, and we were growing them on these little rice flour cakes, we call them, and harvesting magic mushrooms while we were in business school together. So I built what you need. Now we have flow hoods and fan filter units to work in front of with, the cleanest of HEPA filtered air, like a lab sterile situation. But back then we had to build, it's not a still air box, but it would be a glove box. So that was the first relative thinking. So we built these tables with glass tops that we could put our hands in and work in there. And that was sort of a sterile-ish or sanitized way for us to start cultivating. Lo and behold, there was this ad in High Times magazine, and that was sort of one of the first chances or opportunities that I was able to buy spores. And it's a funny story. I was just talking to you about that I posted the very ad when I first got those spores 6 years ago in one of my groups. And the gentleman that had High Times come in and photograph for that shoot his mushrooms, PhD, good friend of mine by the name of Del Potter. And he chimed in. He was like, hey, when he saw me post it, he's like, hey, those are my mushrooms. That was my facility. And that's how we actually met. I was like, no way, man. So come full circle, 25 years later, Del and I are now good friends and we're business partners. So I took a little break, a hiatus after business school from growing active mushrooms, or what we call psychedelics, versus the functionals. And I had a family, I still have a family, but when you have a family, sort of directions change. So I got into more of the functionals and the gourmet mushrooms. So I started growing those for a number of years and playing around with different, strains and varietals and techniques of growing those. And I live in the Pacific Northwest of Canada and British Columbia, so I have a fairly nice climate here that, fungus and mushrooms do enjoy. So I got some pretty good luck, and it gave me, sort of momentum to start learning and trying new things. And then I guess about 8-9 years ago, I started to get back into the actives and the psychedelic mushrooms and cultivating and doing a lot of genetics work. I sort of had some experience in the cannabis realm. I was working in commercial cannabis production. I was doing hybridization and seed development. So I was constantly hunting and taking, other people's genetics. And, that was sort of what taught me the credo of how important good genetics are to start with. I worked with some great, geneticists and breeders in Colorado and California and here in British Columbia. So I did a lot of work in there. And then as I got back into the mycology world, it really started to translate well to me. And, for a lot of years, there really, up until recent, there wasn't a lot of genetic variation, and there wasn't a lot of sort of that hybridization and cross genetization or, genetics happening. There was a few characters in the whole sort of landscape that everybody, had. It's the typical, varietals that everybody knows, the golden teachers. Back then, the PFs, the penis envies came later, and the albino penis envies came later, the apes. And only until recently, maybe in the past 6 or 7 years, have things really started to diverge and converge and cross over. And, it's an exciting time right now. We still have so much work to do, in the lab with analysis and genetics. But I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface, but it's an exciting time right now because, we're seeing a lot of new strains, a lot of new cultivars. And what's really exciting now, and, sort of one of the directions that I see for the future that really is exciting for me is, cross lineage or cross interspecies, hybridization. So we're now with the added benefit of technology and learning different techniques, and through history, teaching us certain things work, certain things don't. We're able to actually cross species, which we weren't and we didn't think we could do easily, in the past. So, for example, we can cross cubensis with cyanescence, or possibly a tampanesis, or now that we can map things genetically and see their DNA sort of barcoding, and we can put them side by side with sisters in the strain genealogy or on the tree, we can see which ones the fabric are close on the barcoding on the genealogy, and we can sort of bring some species that are together or close together and cross them. And that, is going to be, I think, where the future of medicine goes. And we're still barely just even scratching this. I'm sort of maybe just going off on a little tangent here, but
it's all good.
I feel like there's so much work to be done on cubensis. The standard cube is a cube, but there's a lot of cubes. There's a lot of not standard cubes. And some of the stuff that I grow, you can have a look at on my Instagram page. I've never seen before. I don't think the world's ever seen a lot of the stuff. I don't know what's inside of these things. I don't know what kind of alkaloid profiles these have, even the ones that I'm creating. We're not there yet as able to, we can test it. It's not as easy and it's not terribly cheap. But the future of being able to cross some of these species together and create even more complex and unique alkaloid profiles for medicine is exciting, daunting, interesting. I'm all for it. I'm really interested in that. That's sort of the direction I think that the trend will go. We're going to be, finding new species in the wild. I was talking to Alan Rockefeller last week, and he said, if I get 100 people that bring me in strains for barcoding and DNA sequencing, if everybody brought me in 100 species that they went out and foraged for, 30 of those species would still be undiscovered, and a lot of those are psilocybin.
Just watching something on that.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. Like, to put that into perspective, there's a whole bunch of this world that we haven't even discovered. We don't even know what the hell is in it. We don't know where it's going. And then, the idea of being able to take two of them and cross them, oh man. So it's exciting. So we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
That's sort of where we're right now.
Exciting though.
It is.
It's like, really the definition of all of it kind of wrapped in is that the more you learn, the more you realize there is to know, like how dumb you actually are. It's like there's so much. Same with, traveling, or even the psychedelic exploration, like all of it. It's just, there's so much. We're just scratching the surface. And it's so crazy that we're born in this dynamic time where we can utilize past technologies and history, but also have access to technologies that are new, and we can do things that have never been done before. It opens so much up.
It's true. My mind is constantly I have, a wonderful network of brilliant people around me, and we love to talk and we love to, idea generate. And the more I idea generate and the more I talk with people, the more I see how much we don't know. I have questions that, we need answers for. Lots of us need answers for. So, and we'll get to that probably more in the talk, but there's so much room for development now. And, just everybody needs to sort of pay a little bit more attention, because, this medicine fundamentally, I believe, is going to change the world. The world right now is in a little bit of a sad state. And,
standard American diet, sad. SAD.
Wraps it up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that it's exciting with every direction that it can go and where things are going, where you kind of devoting your time right now in your studies and work?
Yeah, mental health disorder in a nutshell. If I can help anybody with anything, it's that. I struggle myself with mental health issues. You know, I have probably endured more trauma than, you know, enough people's lifetimes collectively. You know, the most horrific of trauma, I was killed. My neck was slashed in a brutal bar fight with a broken beer bottle. I suffered 255 stitches in my throat. Both my internal and external jugular veins were severed clean. It was a bloody mess. I died that night on the table waiting for the ambulance. But, you know, 4 surgeons, apparently doctors can bring you back these days. So it wasn't my time. And that was the second of 3 or 4 near-death experiences that I've survived in my life. So I look at life through different eyes than most people. And it's personal for me. You know, I've struggled with PTSD in the past. I've struggled with depression. I've struggled with anxiety still. So if I can, and I know through the use of the medicine over the years has saved me. So I don't take that lightly at all. If I can help anybody with their trouble or their plight, you know, through my experience, and if that helps anybody out there with theirs, that's pretty rewarding. You know, I can't ask for much more than that. That really, you know, for a guy that's had a lot of shit and lived in a lot of shit. I mean, I didn't have a terrible upbringing. You know, I came from a middle-class family, but I wasn't always the easiest kid. You know, I was probably more than a handful for my folks. So it's personal for me because I think that this is what's going to save the world. We're in a, when I say sad state of affairs, it's a depressing mess in a lot of places of the world. You know, collectively, the governments around the world have put it out there for some help. We're desperate to try and thwart this epidemic of suicide amongst our youth around the world. And we don't have a lot of solutions. We have happy pills. We know how that works. Put the kids on the happy pills as quick as possible. That's the only solution we got right now. Well, you're supposed to only be on those, and you know, the science is there. They work for 3 years. We have people on them for 20, 30 years now. And, you know, their body just...
And they were never tested that long. That is the human experience, like experiment. It's those people that
it's supposed to be used as a crutch to get past those maladaptive ways that you're using to cope at the time, right? So within that time, you're supposed to be learning new ways of coping and how to deal with what's going on that's causing these issues, not just numb it and forget about it, throw it in the closet, keep on piling up until it all spills out.
Yeah, yeah, it's similar with psychedelics, though. You know, it's starting to become like this thing about that it's a magical pill, but it's not. That integration work is so important too. Whether, no matter what you want to work with, like, you know, I quit drinking alcohol, but for somebody else, maybe that's their thing and they're not ready to let it go yet. Well, then how do you integrate like experience from that? Same with if it's psychedelics that you're choosing as your coping mechanism, or, you know, working out and like getting that runner's high and that kind of thing, like whatever it is that your thing is, it doesn't have to be the forever thing. It's not about doing something forever. It's about the diversity of bringing it all together. What does integration look like? What are the pieces of everything that resonate and feel good for you? You know, what's the stuff that you need to let go of, or the stuff that's, you know, was never really for you? You know,
what did that experience show you, you know, and how are you going to move forward with that? Are you going to continue allowing it to be the same plight that you kind of run into, you know, or are you going to do something with your life and not run into that problem? And especially with psychedelics, I definitely look at
handle it differently. It's not just about not running into that problem because you can't escape things. It's about it also being a spiral. You're going to face those things again, but you're going to face them being a new person, right. The person who's learned and grown from that.
Yeah. we're definitely a vessel, you know, and if you're going to be using these kinds of medicines, it's nice to prepare that vessel for the journey. You know, I kind of always equate it to like a car. You know, you're going cross country. If you have an old beater of a car that hasn't had its oil changed in a while, tires are all jacked up, you know, it's going to be a little bit of a harder ride. You'll get there, you know, but if you prepare for it and you're taking, you know, the maintenance required, it's going to be a little bit more smoother of a journey for you, and you might be able to see things differently, but you'll definitely
Yeah.
get.
Yeah, I don't think it's, you know, and that's one of the misconceptions I think with out there with people is, you know, sometimes they hear it's a quick fix for a lot of things.
Because it is so helpful. Same with cannabis. So many herbs and medicinal mushrooms out there.
Yeah, in that whole sector of natural health products, it's loosely regulated with a lot of the sort of angle and jargon and wording you need to or do use or have to or can use, especially here in the North American markets. But you know, people can get away with some pretty outlandish claims for certain things. I like, you know, the fact that I know formulative change can happen through this medicine from my own personal experience and from, you know, a very close circle of my people that have had change happen. There's lots of empirical research out there that shows that it does do a lot of great things. Do I think it's, you know, the answer for everything? No. Do I think it's going to help people with, you know, possibly their PTSD, their anxiety, depression, addictions, you know? Yeah, I do. But I do think there are limitations as well with it, you know, like people that are on SSRIs, you know, that there's a different experience, you know, that I don't think it's going to work as well. And we know that there's, you know, receptor blocker issues with that. So it's not for everybody. Those people dealing with, you know, severe trauma, it's not recommended, you know, that you probably should, you know, not be doing psychedelics, you know, unless you can get through that, or you can be with a coach, you know, if you can have someone hold your hand within, you know, a proper integration therapy or with a therapist or a clinician, sure, you know, they're going to hold your hand and make sure that you know that everything is okay and you're taken care of and you're going to come out of this, you know, better, you know, purging, crying, you know, sharing, laughing, screaming, that's all, you know, part of it, part of the process, and it's usually good and it's needed. So yeah.
How often do we hold that in, like in our lives, you know? It's like that pent up energy, like it has to go somewhere. And, you know, that's one of the things that I love about what my position is, being able to hold that container. But it's, yeah, it is part of it to go through for myself too. That's the only way I'm even able to. And that's why I was able to even cope with real life grieving situations. It's like, now because of my use of psychedelics and doing this work and things, handling situations in the real world, I kind of use a lot of those same tools. It's been the reinforcement of those practices that actually gave me my real parenting. Like that was my real mother, you know.
Yeah, it opens your eyes to sort of a few different, you know, a lot of people sort of look for what's known as a heavy dose in ego death, you know. Ego gets in the way of a lot of things, you know. It gets in the way of, you know, some of our interactions, whether it be with friends, family, personal, professional. And I think that the mushrooms sort of can, not necessarily just mushrooms either, you know, we're seeing therapies with other psychedelics as well that are helping with that and helping people with their coping mechanisms and getting through blockages and helping with the relationships, you know, helping with their own self-worth and their own self-love. You know, some of the therapy out there with MDA and MDMA is, you know, really bringing people back online and helping them understand that they have purpose and worth and self-love and can integrate back into society after some, you know, either terrible trauma or, you know, terrible mental illness. So it's exciting. And again, we're sort of just scratching the surface on it right now.
Yeah, and shout out to Dr. Dan Engel. He wrote the book A Dose of Hope, which is the MDMA therapy book. So anybody
Cool. Yeah.
interested in that, Dr. Dan Engel.
a lot of I know a couple of people right now that are actually, working with it exclusively for therapy. And it's very exciting. A good friend of mine, Gus, in New York, and a couple other people, but it's having great results, which is exciting, and it's great that I live in a place that I do, where, we're able to some degree, learn, practice, test without the witch hunt that we're so used to, without the fear of, reprimand or worse. I say that, and breaking news, just as Vancouver and BC is so fast or forward with this culture and with our, sort of our acceptance and tolerance with this, we've been quite a tolerant country and province in particular for a long time. And I want to make this point. I feel like we just took a step back yesterday. We've had about half a dozen mushroom dispensaries operating in the space, in the city now for a few years, going on, I think, 3 or 4 years. Yesterday, the Vancouver Police Department executed a clinical raid on 4 of those and shut them all down. Trashed the stores, threw a good friend of mine, Dana Larson, in jail behind bars for 7 hours. He's been an advocate for legalization of cannabis for years. I mean, this is not the end of the story. This was supposed to happen in the bureaucratic sort of sector coming up in courts, but for some reason, this happened, and I feel like we just took 5 steps back. The same government that allows us to purchase 2 grams legally here of fentanyl, methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine, here in British Columbia, you can purchase legally and hold 2 grams of fentanyl. That's enough to kill a couple of elephants. However, they're going to execute these archaic raids. They released him with no charges, trashed the store, stole his inventory. I mean, I thought we were past this. Yeah, it's a money grab. They talked about it as $160,000 and 500 man hours of detective work for them to close down 1 dispensary in 2015, a cannabis dispensary. Imagine what they spent on 4 yesterday and the man hours of the detectives for what? For mushrooms?
How many violent crimes or crazy stuff that's actually going on that manpower could have gone to instead of
shameful. It's shameful.
Lives,
it is shameful.
We're a beacon here, and we've been doing this, for a while successfully. Nobody's getting hurt. We're not having robberies. It's not increasing to crime. Anyways, off on a little tangent. I apologize, but that, I just seeing my friend yesterday behind bars is a little jarring. So I thought I would bring that to the attention. Vancouver and BC in particular is, very forward in that direction, but that was not expected at all. And it hits home. So I stand in support with Dana and the other dispensaries down there. If there's anything that I can do to lend my support in any way, please let me know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We just had the feds here in the States. They're supposed to be hands off for all cannabis. That's what all the presidents have been preaching for the longest now. Nobody should be behind bars type stuff. And they just did a federal raid shutting down a facility, a big co-op too. So it was a place where the community could go if they didn't have space to grow themselves. They had a safe place, and they decided to go put all that manpower and time into shutting that down and arresting people instead of, the meth labs or, the human trafficking going on that's growing at astounding rates,
I mean, we got dozens and dozens of, cannabis stores here operating illegally, dispensaries, illegal delivery services, that are in direct contradiction with their glorious cannabis, regime that they rolled out 3 years ago. That is a big thorn in their side. And if it's taking away their precious tax dollars, you would think that that would sort of be the target primarily, principally going after some of those, not the little mushroom guys that are really kind of doing their own thing in the corner there. But anyways, Dana will bounce back. He will survive. This won't be the end. And, hopefully we'll be able to take this to the proper channels in the courts and, get some ruling overturned. It's just a bummer that it had to happen this way. I thought we were past that, but anyways.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand why it has to be that way. Like, isn't the good supposed to prevail? And this is, I think, where a lot of people get stuck. It's like they feel, okay, well, we're doing the good thing. Why is life testing so hard? And it's like, why is there always that resistance that comes up? It's like, why can't it just be simple and easy and, everybody get along?
He has business licenses. He's got business licenses. I don't know. There's a bunch of them not even operating with business licenses. So it's unfortunate, but I feel like, he'll be victorious in the end.
They all will, like anyone who is involved in any of that. And it's at these kinds of points, I think that was the point I was trying to make, is that it's in these points to persevere and just know that life's happening for you, not to you. Like there's a lot. He's got so much community. I'm sure anybody who is experiencing that in BC or anywhere in the world right now, you've had that time to build up that community, and now it's the time to really come together. Yeah, that's a really simple way of putting it. Strength in numbers.
You would think. I mean, we kind of went through this with cannabis already. I could understand if he was, anyways, but it is what it is. Moving forward, hopefully we learn some lessons from it, and we'll persevere. Whether it's in the legal sandbox or if there's still people working in the gray area as well. There's
a lot of legacy markets still, usually where we put our focus is in, but it's still nice to learn from all that too.
People that want to keep it with the core values, like the untainted from corporate sides, that is kind of necessary a lot of times for the funding for some of this stuff. As opposed to somebody that can travel and hold space and hold ceremonies for people where she's learned from, ancient people's practices, not some just little textbook crockpot type of way.
Well, I learned that stuff too, but it doesn't stick with me.
Right.
Like even the science stuff, like I look around at all the different stuff that you grow, different places I've been in labs and things, and I'm like, yeah, it's great. It's beautiful. I'm like, wow, nature is one hell of an artist. Wait, good for you to capture that. But the other stuff that you guys are saying, like, I don't know. Or I'll translate it like, you're doing all these nutrients. I'm like, oh, I bet I could grow some really good vegetables with that. Oh, yeah. If it works for the way, it's gonna
work. Where did you sort of get involved with mushrooms originally?
Myself?
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been the psychedelic kinds when I was about 13 years old, surrounded by alcoholics, thinking, wow, this is a little different than what I've seen in my life. But there wasn't a lot of people into it. So, I grew up not on a reserve, but on Crown land. There was a trail that's now kind of a dirt road because some people live in there now. But it was like a strange area, and then also partially a French village, and I am half and half. I was like on the border. I didn't fit in anywhere, but I did fit in with nature. Like different things, different traumas and stuff happened in my life. What was always consistent for me, it was like the sunrise and sunset, and that the seasons change and all these things. So a lot of my lessons I learned from nature, and my mom's Indigenous, so I learned stories from her. I take her more seriously now that I'm older. I think when I was younger, there was so much trauma. Now I've got coping mechanisms other than alcohol and these other things that, were passed down. Mushrooms really, they were a catalyst for me for big changes in my life and for other generations too, because I'm a mom now also, so.
I'm a dad too, and I hear about I love to hear about those changes, and I love to hear about the stories. I usually give a lot of my mushrooms away because I do a lot of testing and I'm growing them and I have them. But usually the deal is if I give you the mushrooms, you got to tell me how the trip was or the benefits, or if you had any kind of change or formula breakthrough, anything like that. I love to hear about that, good or bad, whatever you want to call it. A bad trip is not necessarily bad in my eyes. It's probably you needed to get through it. And a bad trip just means, you might just have some feelings that are coming up, that were sort of pushed down, and you're a little bit more vulnerable, and you should let those come out and have those releases. So it's not a bad trip, and usually I'm going to say 90% of the time you feel like 100% better for the next few days after you have this like an afterglow, and it goes on and on. And I've had lots of people call me and tell me, like a day or two after, like, we had a breakthrough on our relationship, my spouse and I, we were at a bit of a blockage. I have other people that say that, it really helped them out, with their relationship and even in the bedroom, and they weren't even looking for that. They didn't even expect or want that, and it was just, it has a way of sort of just kind of getting you back to center, to balance.
Well, it's being known that, certain funguses can even help your neurons, and ones that have been kind of deadened off or inactive for so long, just help reopen those. And that's alone is helping you think differently and have a more open, broader view of everything. It's a beautiful thing. So once you're able to start integrating all this together, that's where the magic kind of definitely happens, or keeping it happen, right?
That's where microdosing
the effects
comes
are like
in.
far after the trip as well. The physical effects.
Yeah, that opens up a whole bunch of huge area and prospect, and that the fact that we can talk about functional mushrooms as well being almost as important, with change and healing on a different level than sort of the active mushrooms. The active mushrooms are more for your mental, but the functionals are more for everything else, digestion, circulation, your blood, your immune system support, your neurological support, being able to now look at combinations of the two, and you say microdosing, that opens up a huge, we're so far behind. We just need millions of people to unite collectively now and start to learn more. We need teachers, we need facilitators, now more than ever. But putting functional mushrooms together with active mushrooms and starting to do analysis and clinical research on how those interact, and then how they interact on each individual's brains. And we need to sort of, have the pharmacology, aspect of knowing formulations, and then how that affects each different people. It affects differently. So there's a lot of research that we need, but I really think we have some very exciting, life-changing opportunities, to heal people in a life-changing way with mushrooms. I'm a mushroom geek, in and out and sideways, backwards, up and down. I forage in the mountains here all the time. I've done my own analysis and capture of wild species. I'd like to do more of that now that I know that there's a lot more that haven't been discovered. I want to discover some. I want to do more analysis with some of these new species that are being discovered. Like, my mind is, there's like all these little compartments that are just going off and blowing up. Like, oh, what the hell if we took, Zapatocorums and we, smash them against my Shakti Blue Mutant? I'm just using this as an example, but from a geneticist point of view, it's very exciting because I grow some crazy mutations, and I want to do more mutations. I want to mutate the shit out of everything. I want to find those anomalies, those black sheep, because who knows? Maybe I find that cure for cancer or COVID. Who knows? Just kidding. But there's quite
But
possibly
that potential is really there,
to find something. To
Yeah.
find something that we don't know yet what it does.
Stuff that most people would avoid. You're looking for the anomalies and the black sheep in a world where everybody is, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have conformed and, joined that Jones effect train and, or keeping up with the Joneses.
These rare tryptamines and alkaloids with their combinations are really unique as well. Not only is it growth pattern, they're usually very strong. They have very profound effects. And so I think that has something to say with it as well. As we're entering a society of a lot more problems mentally, I mean, yeah, I think some of these things are important to find, and, to be able to, like you said, to be able to integrate that with something that's out there already, that's been doing its thing, that has its connection with source and everything, I think that's a very beautiful and powerful thing. So.
Me too. As much as I love, playing around like in a lab in a petri dish, and isolating and, regulating environments and creating these, sort of artificial environments. I really think that the discovery out in the wild is where we need to focus. And personally, my, sort of move forward now is to start to learn how to grow some of those other exotics, some of those coprophilics, or those, dung lovers, or the wood lovers, the exotics we call them, not just the cubensis. We grow cubensis typically because they're easier to grow, and that's how we started things. Now we've evolved. There's a bunch of amazing cultivators that are doing, wonderfully profound things with some of these exotic species and cyanescence, and we're gonna blow the lid off of it one of these days on what the cubensis sort of will be pale. We already know fairly well that alkaloid profile mapped. There's a few sort of surprises on certain things. I haven't done extensive testing with a lot of the real crazy mutations yet, but when we put it in comparison to those dung lovers or those wood lovers, it's like cubes just pale in comparison. So if we're just figuring out that these alkaloids that we have access to now are so life-changing and so profound, what happens if we find a mushroom that has 10 times the amount of all of them plus a few extras? It's like now we sort of have broken down all the cannabinoids, terpenoids, and everything. We sort of know, sort of from a humanistic approach, what the synergistic approach or effects are between them, and still daily learning that terpenoids are not actually just fucking for flavor. They actually have some other value. And so we got a long way to go, but it's really exciting for a guy like me. I get excited about those kinds of things.
Question askers. That's what it is. It's that curiosity.
And I'm I went to business school. I'm an entrepreneur by forever by trade almost, and I always am talking with creative minded people as well, and I try to surround myself with other thinkers like that. And we're always sort of collectively looking on ways to innovate, to change, to disrupt. How can we do things better? We're still just figuring out ways to do things. So working on ways to do things better is coming as well. So it's exciting from a business perspective as well. There's a lot of exciting things coming on the market. Things that can help people in the industry, both from the end user for the medicine to the production experience and everybody making the medicine for market.
That's pretty exciting.
I mean, I can talk to you about a few of the things. Like one of the things that I was on a podcast about a year ago, and I started talking about one of the projects that I was working on, and I sort of an update. I'm I'm sort of known in the industry as the bad guy. I took a lot of what I learned in the gourmet functional side of things, which for the most part, 90% of the world grows those mushrooms in bags. China, there's a few exceptions to some of them that have to grow in beds, and China just does it like, on a scale, and with the technology, there's nowhere anybody else in the world is close to. So I know that, bags are fairly standard issue, and I've worked with them. We sort of found some tech that we could adopt, and there were a couple of real old OGs in the community that helped kind of me when I first started, and we modified some things, and we still are basically taking the bags. It's been a basement sort of culture for quite a while, growing in bins, Rubbermaid bins, Tupperware bins, trays, tables, and then outdoor patches and things for certain varieties. But for the most part, growing, cultivating forever has been in bins or jars. And we now can use bags, and a lot of people are using bags. And I took some of what I learned from that and got into the bag, and it's been successful for me. And there's a lot of people, both on a a very small scale, a personal, scale, up to a big commercial operation, are using bags. So we're using bags right now that were not designed for this purpose. They're not designed for the active or psychedelic cultivation experience. They're usually made for function mushrooms or gourmet mushrooms or medicinal mushrooms, all of them, like turkey tail, things like that. So we modify the bags and we sort of adapt. I've been working with a big bag producer a while ago. We were doing some testing and things. Unicorn didn't work out for whatever reason. I've been working with a few other testers and manufacturers, and we're about to be able to say that we're going to drop a new bag that's been completely re-engineered. This is the first of its kind that's going to be specific for active cultivation, engineered for that with some very cool innovation. So I'm excited because it's gone through quite a few iterations, lots of drawings, lots of testing, a couple of companies, that weren't able to, we weren't able to make it happen. So we've got samples that are already in. We've got second round of samples coming in. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to be able to, sort of, because right now it's a pain in the ass having to modify bags, having to cut them open, putting tape over them, and, doing, folding them over, because they just don't work as well. You're not going to get the results that you can. So now we've got a bag that, and I'm not going to get into, all the specifics of the technology behind it, but the bag's coming. So for those people that are sort of, interested in bags and growing in bags for the active marketplace, we got something good coming. So I'm excited about that.
I'm relatively new at like the cultivation aspect of it, of the mycology, and I haven't done the bag tech yet, but I've definitely been hearing a lot more of it as of recently, especially at scale. I've been hearing it's a little bit more manageable than having a bunch of tubs and
I mean, with the tubs, you gotta build the tubs. You gotta go and you gotta drill them. I can see the benefits of it. You gotta drill them. You gotta modify them. Once they're set up, they're set up. It's fine. I have no problem with the tubs. I've used tubs. Where it starts to get, on a commercial scale, dealing with, labor and budgets, is the whole idea of washing and, the wastage of that and the detergents and that. I know operations that are running, 5,000 bins. The labor component alone on that to wash those monthly, because you can get a cycle typically in a 30-day, usually around that 30-day mark. It's not like cannabis where it's, 3 to 4 months, so every 30 days, 5,000 bins being washed. Now, the bags are a little easier. You don't need to wash them, they can be reused, but that sort of saves on a whole bunch of that and the whole construction side of things. So there's lots of benefits for using the bags. I think, side by side comparison, as far as production value right now with current technologies, they're both pretty much on par. It's kind of personal preference. I do a lot of consulting work. I do a lot of coaching, both personally and corporate. And, I'm not in there to tell you how to convert your system. I'm in there to help you with what you're running right now. And let's try and optimize that, or let's try and figure out, what's holding you up on that. I'm never there like, oh, you gotta do it this way. It's my way or the highway. No, not at all. You can get successful results a lot of different ways in this industry, or with this trade.
There's a lot of avenues you can go. If you want to get into like genetics work, that's agar. If you want to do liquor culture, just it's wherever you want to go. With it, you can definitely ride that way.
There's a lot of directions to go. It's so, it's mind blowing. If you wanted to focus on just one aspect of one sort of direction or department of the cultivation process and focus on that, there's so many directions, you could go down that with, and the rabbit hole continues. So it's interesting because, we've seen what happened with the cannabis sector and the errors that, hopefully we've learned from with that and roll out of legalization and opportunity. And, I'm hoping I hope we learn from those mistakes. It's a little bit of a different beast in this sector. I hope it improves because, there's a whole bunch of people that are damaged, I feel, and there's a whole bunch of people that prey on people and take advantage of, and there's scammers and frauds and fakes, especially in this online sort of sector of the community. It's like nothing I've ever experienced in my life, never in any other industry. This mycology, small fractionated community is a different beast. And I mean, I can't blame the very nature of, some of the fundamental work we're doing is to try and help people, suffering from depression, mental illness, trauma, drug abuse, maybe lifetime abuse, it's sort of, sadly, it's par for the course. I hope it improves. I'm tired of seeing good people, myself included, having their work stepped on or stolen, or photos, or people, impersonating me and, selling things or doing nefarious things, hiding behind, avatars and icons and being just antagonists, especially in groups online and things like that. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. It's really, sort of dogged and cutthroat. So I hope it improves.
You gotta find your tribe.
That's it. And I've gone to great lengths to find those people, and they're some of the strongest relationships and tightest and coolest people that I know, and some of them I haven't even met. So we've set up community. I've set up probably a dozen of my own groups, in this community, and some of them are the biggest groups in the world in that respective, sort of field. We've got all kinds of groups, and we all look after each other. We take out the trash if we see someone in there spamming. We don't let people, trying to sell bogus and rip people off. People that are trying to spread misinformation. It's not happening. We make sure to nip that in the bud because it's rampant everywhere else. There's the platforms where, some of this information is being disseminated, like the Reddits and the YouTubes. It's just a bunch of green hats, telling other people things that just, that aren't true a lot of the times. And a lot of the times, there's sort of for negative, you're trying to take advantage of other people. So I would love for us to all eat more of our medicine that we grow. And maybe we become a little bit more compassionate, and not try and take advantage of people, and support people. It will be a happier place that we live in.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. On that note, I'm just going to share our sponsors, some of the work that they've been doing up in Canada where you are. And yeah, it's all legacy market. I just really like to share their stuff. It's all cannabis related. So if you're on the mushroom field, maybe consider some of the stuff that we've talked about so far. And for anybody else, enjoy the show. We'll have you right back here, Chris. Looking forward to seeing you in a minute.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBG TV, broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One's called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with, and then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Where's the...
Oh, welcome back, everyone. Oh my gosh, we're giggling back here at so many different things. But one of them is that we're on a farm in Connecticut right now. There's no heat or hot water. We just freeze.
So cold. I got 2 hoodies on now.
Poor guys. Is it snowing?
The oil people out here.
Light a fire.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, there is fire going, but it's a big old farmhouse.
Yeah,
and it's if in that room it's okay, but anywhere else.
Nice. Is it snowing there?
First day of frost.
We had first day of frost for sure. But it's just where the house is located. It's all just in the shadows and such, so it doesn't get much sun. And it helps you really appreciate the little things in life that you often miss.
The simple comforts.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know where you guys are from. I'm Canadian, so I sort of live with that. That's a reality here typically. Right. It's not that cold where I live now on the Sunshine Coast, like outside of BC or Vancouver, but I used to live in Alberta, which is the province over in northern Alberta for oil country, and man, it got to like minus 52 for like months at a time. It was so far north. There'd be days that we'd only have 4 hours of sunlight like that. Wow. And we saw lots of northern lights, but man, I mean, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but we had crews on the ground that could only work for 15 minutes at a time, and then they have to get shifted out. You can't, you just stay out too long and things you shut down, you freeze. So hope it's not that cold for you guys there.
I did remember I did a couple winters in Manitoba, and they were comparing it to weather on Mars. There's like at the grocery stores, you literally have to plug in your cars, even if it's not an electric car, because your battery won't actually turn over. So it gets really cold.
Live in these conditions, right?
By choice.
Y'all got it.
Yeah.
I mean, not by choice. I mean, sometimes you're born into it. I don't know, shout out to Manitoba, sometimes some of those places, I don't know if the Inuit are always like, they're like, I love it here, but it's not always, there's barely so many options, but you make do with what you got.
They can't leave their family they were born to survive together.
Right? Yeah. What are you going to do in the big city?
Yeah, when you're cold together, doggy pile.
Talk to me.
Yeah, well, I wanted to hear what new breakthrough there's been in your realm of microgenetics or myco technology, and just how that's helped you with your own mental health, or if you have an actual experience that you can share that's been of recent or comes to mind as I'm asking you.
Mental, as in I can speak to some of the trauma that I've had, or some of the coping.
Oh yeah, throw it all on the table right now. I'm just kidding. No, absolutely, you can share your own experience for sure. But yeah, whatever you're comfortable with.
Technology-wise, there's from a cultivation standpoint, we're sort of learning new ways that we can breed. We can again, dicaratization and do decaratization, serial dilution. A lot of microscope work helps us on that, in that lab perspective. As far as developments in the community going for, how I see the future, and there's lots. And, I see, brilliant people doing things with new delivery methods, working with other alkaloid profiles, not focused solely on psilocybin, psilocin, and, different delivery methods like sublingual sprays, transdermal patches, where we know we can help people get the same effect. Studies proven that you can with using psilocybin and not having the anxiety of having to ingest and go through the gastrointestinal tract. We can bypass that, and you can still get the same entourage effect with half the shelf life or half the half-life. You can be feeling it in 10 to 15 minutes or less, and you could be done with, your therapist after 2 to 3 hours and out, and they could process maybe 2 or more patients a day, instead of the typical 4 to 8 hour commitment that you got to put in with psilocybin, and ingesting. You got to go through that whole, it's got to go through, it's got to do the conversion, then it's got to go into the blood and then pass the brain. So that is helping a lot of people with, sort of that anxiety bid, and it might be, I don't know if I want to do that, and a hindrance for them to actually even want to try the medicine. I feel a personal goal that I need to go and kick down the doors, literally, of, every country in the world right now. And I'm putting together a team of consultants and doctors and politicians and different advocate groups where we can do that and go and educate, because bloody hell, we're so far ahead of it here. Which is great, but it's also sad because we're just scratching the surface, and we need to collectively, especially from the scientific side and the educational side of things, we need more help. We need to get more people studying and sharing, and we need to understand more about, the molecules, the alkaloids, everything. The vision that I have for, and this is probably not, my own vision, but we are going to be able to change the world with a new model of healthcare. And whether it's, with the current regimes in your country, saddled to, if it's the government, or if it's a privatized system like a franchise model, we basically need, 1,000 times the clinicians, technicians, doctors, any of the therapists right now working with it on board than what we have, so that's a massive amount of sort of downloading and training that needs to happen. They talk about, one state right now having maybe 1,500, I forget which one it was. I can't recall off me, and don't quote me on anything of this, but it was around 1,500, I guess, therapists that work with the psilocybin, and that was probably, they were focused on, probably alcoholism, addiction, and clinical depression, and they were saying that the state needed 129,000-ish clinicians or therapists to handle the workload for the mental health issues in that respective field at that moment in time.
A lot of them need to be working with the medicine too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other can of worms,
Hey,
right.
In these positions of being a therapist or of being of service of other people, as a doctor, as an ND, as a counselor or coach, nurses, and they're like needing this medicine and getting this call for this medicine, and it's needed all around. It's not, and that integration piece as well. It's not just, there's so much work to be done all around. You guys are talking about like genetics and growing what's possible, and that's just one little piece of the puzzle of, like, in mental health, it's so vast in itself. The human condition, the culture, the trauma, they're all these individual little pieces. There's so much to be done.
Really is.
So, and that's just it. We need more people, and the model that I kind of feel is we're going to have eventually, these clinics, and they can be small. They could be almost on, every few corner blocks, kind of like, the States, they had that model of the pain clinics, we know how those went.
Or Canada with the meth clinics.
But these could be the mental meth clinics, it's the mental clinics now. And they could have a whole myriad of, psychedelics or medicines that they could use at their disposal for, all of the, mental disorders that we know of. And, you could process in little rooms, almost like, sort of a massage therapy, size and scope. Somebody could have a nice room, they could have a therapist, 4 hours, there could be like a little lobby with a retail sort of storefront where you could actually buy, some of the product as well. And people would just, They could go in and you could feel better, you know?
And live the product and use the product.
People, it will become a lifestyle thing. You know, people go and get their nails done. You know, people go get their lashes done. You know, we go to the gym. People want to go for a little mental break. You know, they could go in there, and if you made it comfortable and you find
resonated so much.
and I think it would catch on, and it would just
coffee break, a mental break. Imagine if we treated ourselves that well.
Ego break.
I feel this is a direction that
ego detox.
Yeah. And with where we're going with technology and, you know, some of those other delivery vehicles, you don't got to eat a big old mitt full of like dirty, socked, dried mushroom tasting, you know, like gack. You know, you can grind up. We can do teas. We can do extracts. We can do wonderful edibles. We can do like an arm patch. You know, you can do a quick spray. Boom, boom, boom. In and out burger. That's it, babe. Get you in, process you feel like $1 million out, you go for dinner, you're fine.
So that's a big attraction, I feel like, nowadays, that people are running to like DMT a little bit more so today, because you're not going to that 4 to 6 hour extensive journey, you know.
And you don't have to worry about the gastrointestinal issues because you're smoking it or vaping it. It's quick and effective. You know, there's a result, even if it's. But
what I love about it is it's so molecularly close to psilocybin.
Yeah.
That there's that relationship that, you know, is very close.
Just one blasts you off, and the other one you have to work to get there. But I think that there's value in both.
Absolutely.
To be honest, like, I really do.
And last time I was with DMT was the first time I had microdosed beforehand. And I could definitely tell a difference.
Yeah, we did work cool doing both.
Yeah. It was wild.
And you know, like that's another perfect example is like, we know, you know, it does great things potentially. We just don't know how quite yet. We don't know where, you know, we've pretty good idea, but it's still a lot of question marks. And I accept, you know, I'm very comfortable accepting that I don't believe science has the answers for everything. You know, there's a lot of things outside of the realm of science that, you know, just can't be explained. And I accept that. And I love that. You know, I search for that, you know, whether it's the spiritual or if it's just, you know, sort of a personal experience. So bring it on. You know, ibogaine, we're learning things about, you know, there's a bunch, you know, ayahuasca. It's funny though, because there's
Gambo we had talked about before too.
Have you done Gambo? Because, you know, there's this common thread between all of these things now, where there's this level of discomfort. Like I did Gambo a couple times, you know, I can't think of too many things that, you know, match up there with Campbell for discomfort, you know, level up. It's, you know, like the full, you know, the purging, the vomiting, you know, all of that. I get it. You know, I'm okay with it. I've done it. I think that's a barrier for entry for a lot of people, which I think technology may be able to help us with that. You know, that whole barfing thing with ayahuasca. Like,
people resist that because it's in the nose. Like a lot of people don't like discomfort.
And
that's just it.
Like correlations to other.
Oh yeah, if you put it up your nose, it must be like cocaine.
Yeah. And then even
like the rapid.
And the burning, it's like people get tattoos, but then doing a burn for a camo, and they're like, no, it's like your whole body is covered in tattoos. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, you got to put it into perspective too. Like, what if there's the, you know, the geriatric community? You know, they might not, and they could possibly benefit a great deal from some of this new therapy that we're looking at, you know, this holistic or, you know, jungle therapy. But that whole idea of, you know, I got to barf my brains out. I don't know if I want that, especially if people have complications already with digestion and things like that, which people do. You know, people's immune systems are very fragile these days, you know, in North America because of our diets. You know, so people have a whole bunch of autoimmune disorders, and then having something that's reacting in their stomach, you know, it's going to turn a lot of people off. So from that perspective, it's exciting too, because that's usually an indicator that there's histamine receptors being antagonized and things like that. And we're finding out now some of those histamines, and that's another sort of direction that's very exciting, is figuring out what those histamines looks like, what they're sort of, triggering, and then how can we possibly fix that so the experience doesn't have to be so discomforting. How can we figure out new delivery vehicles for, I don't know, can we for DMT? I don't know. Can we for MDMA? I don't know. I mean, who knows? So
people are asking questions and there's conversation. This is such a beautiful time. It's so exciting.
It is. I love teaching. I started a school online a couple of years ago for cultivation, a master class with about 8 or 9 other brilliant cultivators. I would say, my peers and better than me for sure. And I love doing that. And, I'm going to get that started again. I had some, sort of some things in my life that transpired. I had to take that offline. My mother got sick with cancer. I went through a terrible breakup with my ex-business partner, DC Mac. With a couple of, attempted suicides. So it was just a dark time for me a few years ago. So I'm going to get that back online. But I think, more just teaching in general needs to happen from as many people, not from a cultivation perspective necessarily, but we just need armies, legions of people helping, learning. And that's a big opportunity, both if you're looking for work, or if you're looking to start and push forward in a lot of new exciting sectors of this. We have a lot of, things to learn and things we've learned from, the cannabis sector. So it's exciting as far as that potential goes. But more selfishly, we need to teach more people to do stuff, to fill boots, to get boots on the ground working, to start healing and helping other people heal. It's great to get magazine covers and, as seen on TV things, but at the end of the day, we need people in the trenches. We need people down there teaching people, and we need, we got to help the world.
What advice would you give to people just for getting started? If they're getting started with their own mental health, and then also getting started to start taking action and being a service in this space too.
Start reaching out, getting on social media, finding good people in different sectors, start learning a little bit that way, making some networks, going to events, networking with people. That'll sort of put things into perspective on what resonates with you. Are you thinking about cultivation? Are you thinking about, setting up a legal company to do something? There's a wonderful myriad of directions you can go with it. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be in the medical sector even. I personally want to do some things in the art sector. I used to own a beautiful art gallery. I want to do some installations with living mycelium and some of, my photography and video, and possibly project it onto it and have things growing in these like pods of like living art, and there's companies, I want to do that, collaborate with other artists and do that. There's companies making new leathers, Mercedes is going to be using mycelium leather in their cars, we're talking about insulative materials that are strong, durable, heat-proof, light, bricks, furniture. It doesn't have to be in the medical sector.
They got some that'll eat up the oil and can clean up the oceans. There's all kinds of different things out there.
It's sort of a little cringy in the industry if we know so that fungus has been, sort of glorified a little bit more than its actual ability. It has to be a very certain amount or certain type of plastic, and it sort of breaks it down, and it kind of has to be a very certain.
What about oils?
It can work on oils as well, but it has to be a very specific environment and type. It's not
there you
like,
go,
hey,
more jobs.
More jobs. Listen, there's no shortage of jobs. There's a ton of boots to be filled. That's what I'm saying.
Go find boots, people.
You could buy mycelial leather boots and be the first artisan.
That'd be really cool.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Telling you, man, it's a direction. Like, there's so many things. You could be like an exotic dancer, dancing in mycelium bikinis. I don't know, whatever. We're just shooting from the cup. All right, here we go. 30 seconds. Let's break it down. What do we got, guys?
This could be like a mycelium mastermind. It could be a round table one time.
Yeah.
Does anybody who thinks that they're looking for a job or needs a job, anyone who's complaining about that right now, show up to the mycelium round table.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. So we have a group online on Facebook called Cooking with Cubes. It's like it's a group solely devoted to cooking and extractions and using the extracts from mushrooms in a culinary sense. How do you make savory dishes? How do you make pickled mushrooms that are active? There's a whole bunch of great things in there. And I'm super excited. This will actually be the first, you're the first to hear this, and I'll announce a little bit here prematurely, but I've spoken to my good friend Jennifer. We have like sort of a division of that, the first of its kind, that's opening up a Cooking with Cubes, sort of live, open concept active kitchen in Las Vegas. She's going to be doing classes there where people can come down. They can actually learn how to cook these wonderful dishes, how to do different edibles. There's going to be a whole bunch of cool courses that she's going to do. She's wonderful. I love it. I love it. So there's a whole bunch of directions where we can go, guys. So that'll be the first of its kind. And I think there's going to be more. We're looking, that should expand into other cities. So, that's going to be an educational component for sure. There's going to be an integrative component, on how to dose, and then the culinary aspect as well. And I think I'm going to be doing some moonlighting in on some of those classes and teaching.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I'm excited for it.
Because that's a big part of your background too. So it really is coming all full circle for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a shit ton of work. I'm not going to lie. It's in my heart. I love to do it. And, I love seeing opportunities, to give back and to like start new groups and we've got a couple of real cool groups. So I started a group called Myco Monsters a couple of years ago. It's the biggest of its kind. It's the Guinness Book of mutated mycelium monsters on the planet. So it's basically everybody who grows the craziest, biggest things. They post it on there, and it's kind of like, here, this is my, the Guinness, my entries. So we've logged in, all the biggest and weirdest and wildest. So that one's a fun one. We got the Cooking with Cubed ones. I have my own group on Facebook called Apes Harem. So that's just, sort of where I show all of my work and my failures, and most of my peers in my community. We've got a great admin team there. We do a lot of teaching there. What else? Just started a new group actually a week and a half ago called Bag Tech. And it's the first of its kind. It's a group exclusively on the art of growing in bags. So it's already growing like crazy. So I'm excited about that. So a lot of education there and teaching people. And, I've already had people posting that, they're selling all their bins. Guy's selling 375 bins yesterday, posted for sale. He's going to bags. It's a big operation. So we're getting people that are understanding and, liking it and seeing the results. So that's exciting. I'm going to, I'm going to start doing some teaching. I do a lot of coaching and professional coaching right now. I've got some packages set up there for that. So I'm teaching a lot, and then I give into my groups. I'm always like commenting or giving feedback there. So lots going on these days.
Where can people find you at then if they wanted some consulting advice or wanted to reach out to you about any one of these mini ventures that you got going on? Because it all sounds like some great stuff that I know people are going to be interested about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Instagram on my Ape King Kong account, message me there. That's probably easiest for most people and accessible. I'm usually pretty good with that. I took a step back. I used to have some people helping me before I took my break for mom and everything there. I used to have quite a few people helping me with my social media management. Now it's me. I'm just kind of taking a step back and doing things myself. So I'm not, the best. So everybody just, have a little bit of patience, but I will help everybody when I get to them. Try to pile through a bunch of those sort of questions a day, but that's probably the easiest thing. Yeah, and then as well, I sell my genetics as well. So, both for commercial and personal. So, if people are interested in that, a little bit of a selfish plug there. So, yeah. That's probably the easiest
plugs. Like, honestly, that's what I want to do, is help you guys share with each other, share what you're doing with the collective, all of it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate you letting me come on here and using this as a vehicle and a voice. It's wonderful.
Well, I'd love to see more, and I'd like to see you with some of your other guys or gals in the community as well. Maybe you and Alan come on and chop it up. You of your many other professional co-hosts you have out there. It would be great to come on and there's so much information that we need. So
I would love that. I got a bunch of cronies that I'd love to sit and bullshit with.
Yeah, man. We got a spot for you. So
sure. Cool, man. I before I leave, I guess I really appreciate your time. I got something that's brewing right now that I'm going to leave a little teaser out there. We got something that's coming that we're working on now for quite a while, several months. There's not been a lot of technological change in the cultivation sort of side of things for a lot of years. There's been some like tech improvements, a couple of tools that have improved, but for the actual mechanics of cultivation, not a lot has changed. And we got something that's going to change the game. I'm excited to say that we put together a team. We've got a PhD, we've got formulators, chemists, project managers, consultants, myself. And I think coming here pretty quick, we got something that is going to be pretty exciting. So just a little teaser there to watch for. So maybe, we'll come back soon and we'll be able to reveal it and tell you that.
I'm excited. You got me on the edge.
Cool, man. All right.
Yeah, so thanks so much for being here. We're definitely going to do it again, whether it's a show here or just getting you set up on Psychonauts in general. But there's lots more that we'll be doing together, I hope. And everybody just go check out the Ape King on Instagram, like now. Go.
Yeah. The carbon you had.
Yeah.
Have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Namaste. Much love.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.